Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Star Wars with James and Joel.
Yeah.
Tonight's episode is episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
I didn't know you were going with the number.
What?
I would have messed that up and be like, wait, 1, 2.
And for many people, it's still the second Star Wars movie. So
I don't know why those people.
I mean, there's some people that just refuse to watch the prequels, you know? I think it's a little sad. I mean, you don't have to watch them a million times, but that's one thing. I know a lot of people are like, don't at all talk about the prequels at all in any of the, the new movies. I think there's a lot good in those that I think should still be at least addressed, and it shouldn't be forgotten. I think that would be terrible, terrible, terrible. Because, I mean, those movies are still going to be around. They're not going anywhere. Like, there's still millions of people that enjoy those movies. You can still preserve a lot of the awesome parts in those movies and the storyline and stuff like that and still enhance it and make it even better.
Well, I think, looking at we're completely off track already. I think looking back at the old movies, it gives you a good insight into how, the Senate worked and everything.
Yeah.
And it'll give you something to compare with the New Republic in the movie, which, apparently even Leia was kind of hesitant of the New Republic.
Yeah.
At least in the novelization.
I mean, there's so many things that the prequels gave us that we had no idea about in the original ones. Like one of them, like even just some of the terms, like Padawan.
Like younglings.
Well, Padawan, like that was never a thing. Like, oh yeah, did Jedi have like, pupils and stuff? We had no idea. Like we didn't know where they came from.
Younglings.
James, you're ruining the moment.
Midichlorians.
I didn't care. I wasn't hateful of the midichlorians. I don't
hate it, but I'm also into sci-fi and stuff like that. I don't think it resonates with the average viewer.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, for me, I don't need the Force to be a just like, something you never talk about or understand. Also, the midichlorians don't dictate that you are like, I don't know, you are a Jedi. Like, just because you have a lot of midichlorians doesn't mean you're a Jedi and you have tons of force power.
It just means you've got some kind of midichlorian disease.
No, I'm thinking of Family Guy or Star Wars movie episode. It's like, Anakin's like, guys, I got so many midichlorians, I'm going to be super powerful. Like, cuts to the hospital. You've got the bad midichlorians. You're going to die. Oh, no force power for you. All right.
So moving on.
Okay.
Empire Strikes Back.
As we usually start it. Do you remember the first time you saw the movie?
I do not, actually. I mean, I was a kid, and I had a ton of the toys, so apparently I was into it. I
didn't see it in the theater. I think the first time I saw it, the earliest I remember seeing it was over at a friend's house on VHS, and it was a duplicated version of the movie. I think they copied it off of TV. And I remember the VHS tape was so bad that it would warble in and out so much that we'd have to fast forward like 15 minutes sometimes, that it wouldn't work. So I remember just the intro, the little pods, like the little, what were they? The little droid things that went down to Hoth searching for the probe droids. There we go.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I remember I love that scene at the start, especially seeing the Executor, like Darth Vader's, his own ship. I think it was his at the start, or either way, just that kind of like Star Destroyer was like so huge and big, and it was just awesome. And it was also like I was listening to Rebel Force Radio just yesterday, and they were talking about how, for people back then, they had no idea what to expect, what episode, what Empire Strikes Back was going to be about, right? They had no idea how big the rebel base was, like how many rebels there were. It, goes from the first movie where it's kind of like a small group, like you don't see many of them, and then all of a sudden Empire Strikes Back, they have a huge fleet. They have like the giant Mon Calamari like ships. What
did you call it?
Mon Calamari, I think. Calamari. It's those giant, like, kind of long, like, ovally looking ships that kind of escape Hoth as they're fighting. That's what they're called, I guess. I think it has to do with the it's a trap people. I think.
I have to look it up now because it's not. I don't think it's calamari.
is that a food?
Yeah, that's.
Is that like squid or something?
No.
I don't know. Oh well, close enough. Anyways, no one knew what to expect.
Corellian.
It's
Is
not.
that what?
No, it's
wasn't Corellian?
Mon Calamari. Yeah, there we
see
go.
a lambda.
Yeah, here we go. Mon Calamari Cruiser. Yep. Calamari. Mon Calamari. Calamari something. Yep, it's a trap dude. It's what's the name of the guy?
It's a trap dude.
I am like, I can't think of the name of the guy now.
You're talking about Akbar?
Yeah, here, Akbar, yeah. Dude, if you just search Mon Calamari like on the Wikipedia, the first image of him is just hilarious. Like it's just like 3 guys. It looks amazing. Anyways, I think it's, I mean, like Empire Strikes Back is my absolute favorite Star Wars movie.
Hold on.
What? What?
The Mon Calamari were a race.
Yeah.
So it's just their cruiser. So
yeah,
that makes more sense.
I said it was a Mon Calamari cruiser or ship.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what I was meaning to say that, so I might have said something else. It's a trap, dude. It's a trap race. Which sad, the actor who played him in
Calamari is squid. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the voice actor who played him passed away just only like about a month ago now, which is sad because he did the voice for Admiral Akbar.
Has it been that long?
Force Awakens. Yeah, I think so. It's about a month.
Maybe it was like a week ago.
It might have been like 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. It feels. Anyways, it was recent. But yeah. So Empire Strikes Back. It's my absolute favorite Star Wars movie. What about you, James? Where do you rank it in all the Star Wars movies?
Oh, it's definitely my favorite too. It's such a dark turn that I think it's fantastic for that reason. But also, and we'll talk more about this just the set design for this one was just fantastic.
Yeah, it was my favorite. I'm not sure if it's my favorite because it's dark. Like obviously I like more moody films. But for me, I think like I am not a huge fan of origin films. Like I just really hate that. Like I like films that start off years after like the beginning. Like I hate origin stories because for me, when you go to see the movie, unless you know what they're going to become, unless you don't know what they're going to become, to me it's kind of like, well, just, can I get to the part when he's Batman, or can I get to the point when he's a Jedi? Like I want to get to that point already. Like I don't care about who they are now because it's kind of like I don't really know them well. But like when it starts as they're already a Jedi or they're already they've been doing this for a while, then I feel like for me, I'm more interested after I've seen them for a while to go, all right, now tell me about where you came from. Then I'm like really fascinated about like who they are, how they get to this point. But I don't know, for me, I've just never been a huge into origin stories because I'm like, we all know where it's going to go. You're going to get a lightsaber, or you're going to become Batman, or you're going to, become a superhero. You're going to make a cool suit, except you're going to make a really shitty suit first, like, so it's like, I would rather just see like, I guess I like, they were already into the battle. Like, Luke was already on his own adventures. He was kind of he's already been a little bit of a leader there. You know what I mean? Like they don't have to introduce everyone again. It's kind of like, here's Luke. He's doing his thing. Like I like that. And, yeah, and it was cool. Like even with Han Solo and stuff at the start, they weren't like, they were kind of buddies, like they watched each other's back, but it wasn't super like, we're saving the world together. It was just kind of like, I'm here for the time being, but I gotta leave. And like, you just never knew what was going to happen, I think, in that movie. And I don't know. It surprised me. The aesthetics, we just recently watched it on Blu-ray because I haven't seen him for a while. And then we just kind of watched him back to back. Dude, that picture holds up so well. I couldn't believe it. Like just the visuals, the like color, like shots, everything. It just holds up so well.
Yeah.
The initial Hoth battle, like even, I mean, the early scene with Luke, when he gets when he sees Obi-Wan after the whole what is the name of those monsters? The
Wampa?
Yeah, Wampa. Yeah. Snow monsters. It's a trap,
The
guys.
abominable snowman.
Yeah, are you there? That whole scene was so cool. I love that.
I like that. I like that they separated enough. Like the end of Star Wars: A New Hope. I think I said this when we recorded it. It could have been a standalone film.
Mm-hmm.
So going into this, they didn't like try to give it reason to go forward. Like they didn't try to play out some. Now they have to figure out where their life's going. Now they've got all these medals and stuff like that, and they're the heroes of the galaxy. Like it jumps right into many months, or maybe it could have been a year or two later.
Yeah,
I don't think it clarifies. It shows them, entrenched. It shows things are still going on. They had a small victory, but that small victory ultimately means nothing in the grand picture of there's still more coming.
Yeah.
So
and it introduced so many new elements to like the mythos, I guess, of Star Wars, with Yoda talking about like what the Force is, Obi-Wan, like adding more to the fact that, Luke has some sort of destiny. Like it went from, A New Hope being, yeah, you're heroes, to what the heck does this really mean? Like, what is the Force? Why is Darth Vader, hunting the rebels down exactly, how big is this problem that they're in? But the music is just so phenomenal. Like, John Williams just nails it for this film with just the asteroid chase music. And I mean, just everything, like, Han and Leia's theme. There's so many just, I think, unforgettable, like, pieces of music throughout this whole film. And okay, like, I think something that's really gutsy that they did in this movie that I think it's hard to recognize how gutsy this is, but they turned the Millennium Falcon, which was a really cool ship in the original one, to now it's all junky, can barely work. You know what I mean? It has tons of problems. And it's like, I feel like on paper, putting that idea down must have sounded like a huge risk, I think, as a story going, dude, well, this is a great ship. Let's have it do awesome, cool things. But why is it that so many people love the Millennium Falcon that it's a piece of junk? Like it gets by, Like there's so many, I think, elements to Empire Strikes Back that it seems like, whoa. Like there's not even that much action in Empire Strikes Back. There's a long introduction of action. And then there's just lots of just kind of, I guess, slower paced scenes throughout the rest of the movie.
Right.
It's funny because it's like, going from The Force Awakens, it is a very fast-paced film. It's amazing how well Empire Strikes Back and the originals hold up, that they are way slower paced, when it comes to action and even camera work and stuff. But it's like, still, it's so interesting.
It's slower paced, but this film, and we'll go through all the different scenarios, it jumps around. Like this film had a lot of different sets.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting off on, Hoth, which is just an ice planet, and then later going to Dagobah and Cloud City. And, there are a lot of different things that, even though it was a little bit slower storytelling, they did a good job of making you feel like it's just moving along at a good, healthy pace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, definitely once Luke goes to Dagobah, yeah, it is switching between that and Han and Leia trying to escape the Empire and kind of make it back to the Rebel base. Yeah.
So
I love. Oh, go ahead.
So with the Wampa, we see Luke. Luke did somewhat use the Force when he destroyed the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
But we see the first Jedi type activity happening. As he's hanging upside down, like him pulling for his lightsaber.
Yeah.
Which I think was cool. And it was, really introducing, because that this is the first time we've seen the Force go outside of just in your mind and using a lightsaber. We've seen it actually being able to physically manipulate the world around them.
And I just realized something now. The people that have complained about like, oh, Rey is so powerful, right? Well, in this scene, Luke, I mean, we're just assuming that Luke has been talking with Obi-Wan this whole time, or I think this is the first time he's heard from Obi-Wan since A New Hope, from that. So that means he learned to use the Force pretty dang quickly, unless he was already been training beforehand. But outside of just barely using it in A New Hope in the X-Wing for shooting the torpedoes, has he been practicing this whole time? You know what I mean? Like, wait a second, he kind of he uses it at the spur of the moment, So
yeah,
I think that's kind of.
I mean,
interesting.
for him to even think to do that, not seeing Obi-Wan really do. Other than, I mean, Obi-Wan did do the mind tricks.
Yeah, but he didn't.
We didn't see physical. We didn't see physical manipulation.
Yeah.
So,
and
anyway, after Han found him, probably the grossest scene in any movie I've ever seen. Like, seeing that as a kid was kind of haunting. Cutting up, what are the banta? What are they called? Banta? Is that what they were? Tauntaun. Sorry. Cutting open the tauntaun and putting him in there to keep him alive because of the heat of the internal goo and fat and stuff. It's just like, oh man.
This is where we're different, James. I love that scene. I thought it was so cool.
Like, I want to climb in there too.
Like, I always thought just the effects of it were so kind of amazing.
Oh, it was well done. I just thought, man, that sucks.
Yeah. We never actually see it, but if that scene could have continued on for a couple hours when Luke finally wakes up, oh my gosh!
He's got pieces of it in his mouth.
Like Luke, when they're rescued and he's back there, and he's in the back to tank, he's in that thing kind of. That's actually because he smelled so bad. It wasn't because he's actually damaged.
He's taking a big tomato bath.
Yeah, he's taking.
Now we were introduced after he found him. We did get introduced to the AT-ATs, which were pretty darn cool. I think that was just an amazing scene.
Oh, phenomenal! Especially just all the rebels with their various weapons and the little kind of mini turret things. That was so cool seeing all that stuff. Like the technology improved so drastically. It was like, oh yeah, you guys like A New Hope? Welcome to Star Wars 4.5. It was like they ramped everything up.
4.5.
Well, I was saying instead of 2.0.
So it's a slightly better version of what we just did.
No, I guess, yeah. What I was meaning is if Star Wars
New Hope Star Wars 5.
Well, I was saying if Star Wars A New Hope was 1.0, I was meaning that Empire Strikes Back was 4.5. It was.
Okay, that kind of makes a little more sense.
Yeah, but I kind of forgot.
Star Wars 4.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of forgot that actually the number matched up. Shut up. Yeah.
So yeah, after that they escaped on the Millennium Falcon, and this is where Luke went off to Dagobah. Which
can I say one thing right before as they're escaping? I realized.
Yeah.
Have you seen all the deleted scenes on the latest Blu-rays?
I have not.
Something that I thought was just amazing, and this comes back to you can shoot so much footage for a movie, but man, it comes down to editing. That is where your movie actually is not created, but it's trimmed down to the actual movie. But there's so much extra footage of Han and Leia in the tunnels talking, and you can watch the whole scene play out, and it's hilarious because it's awful. It's really awful, and they cut down so much of it, and they use just tiny snippets, and it's amazing in the actual film. But it's just interesting, seeing those scenes that you're like, oh man, it's just Han and Leia, when he's like. It's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? You need? What about I need? Just all the kind of the relationship kind of stuff that is just snarky. It was so well done. But then in the other version, they say those lines and then immediately the camera keeps tracking them as they keep walking again. And it just feels so awkward to stay with them after those lines that in the real movie, it cuts to another action part, then back to them, and it works so well. But seeing it all play out in one long thing, it's so cringy. It just doesn't work at all. And it's just interesting how, wow, they cut all that out, and that is what made Star Wars so cool. But yeah, so they escape, and then Luke goes to Dagobah because Obi-Wan, kind of showed up as a Force ghost and told him, go to Dagobah, to continue your training or to start your training or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could erase my memory of watching the movie so I could watch it for the first time and go, were you expecting Yoda? Because in the teaser poster and the trailer, Yoda was not shown at all back then. So Yoda was a complete surprise. And so it's like, I've seen the movie so many times, I can't remember if I was ever surprised, like, oh, it's a little dude, teaching him the Force. Like, that had to have been crazy back then, thinking, wait, this guy is a Jedi Master?
Well, the thing I liked about Yoda, compared to, say, the prequels, is that while he was somewhat comical, it wasn't like slapstick. It wasn't just like goofy. Like, he was annoying, but it wasn't like, ugh, whose decision was this kind of annoying.
Yeah.
And it was believable when he's, revealed that he was Yoda.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't too slapsticky.
I mean, there's like, if you think about it, like, from story-wise and even just like what that kind of scene or the idea it's presenting is, it's just, I love the idea that it's like, you don't have to be a big, hulking, strong person to be the Force wielding. You can be, you can be whatever size or whoever you are, you know what I mean? Like, it was just cool. Like, it's not what you would expect to be a Jedi Master, and I think that was cool for Luke. But I think just even watching as a kid, it was just like, oh, like, if you go out there and try hard, you can probably succeed too. It was just such a cool, interesting way of introducing it. I wish I could be in the theater back then watching the first time to see what other people think. Because I heard that a lot of people didn't like Yoda at the start. Like, they actually were not fans of him. But it's like, it feels like it's so long ago. Like, I'd be curious to know if that really was true, right? Or we needed the internet back then just to capture people's thoughts and opinions on that. But
they, while they did the Dagobah scenes, the thing about A New Hope is they kind of just did the good guys, bad guys, good guys, bad guys, back and forth. I feel like in this one, they really split it off, where you have the Luke story going on, you have the bad guy story, and then you have, Han and Leia and C-3PO and Chewbacca doing their thing.
And then back to the Gungans doing their thing. Yeah,
that was a great scene. But we did have Han and Leia about to kiss. Was that?
I know. I think
they kiss? I don't remember. Not off the top of my head.
It was a slight kiss.
And so they're starting to introduce that romance, which obviously plays in, if you haven't seen The Force Awakens, spoiler alert, they get together at some point. And this is also the first time that we're introduced to the Emperor.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool.
That there's even someone above Darth Vader, Or
right.
More scary or more dangerous.
In the first movie, we have I can't remember his name. The guy who was leading the
Tarkin?
Yes. We had someone that was kind of like the leader. Even telling, Vader to do something, and Vader kind of just listened to him, which was a little strange to me, now looking back, but realizing that he was answering to the Emperor, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, introducing the Emperor was kind of cool. Probably my favorite thing about the dark side aspect of that movie was when Vader was in his little chamber thing. I thought that was the coolest thing. I had that toy when I was a kid. They had a little chamber thing that you could put Vader in.
That's awesome.
And it would close. It was pretty sweet.
There was an interview with George Lucas talking about saying that when they were shooting that, they actually had a scene, or they were going to shoot it, of showing actually Darth Vader's face, the actor who would eventually be in Return of the Jedi. But he decided against it because he's like, I feel like that was showing too much, like that it didn't matter at that point to see his face, and it kind of just takes away a lot of the mystery. No,
it worked really well in Return of the Jedi because it really gave you a snapshot of his humanity. But anyway, yeah, I thought that was really cool. And that's just one of the things that's, you know, a lot of the set pieces in this movie were just kicked up a notch, I think. Like, I mean, there was some cool stuff in A New Hope. I mean, just doing the ship in general was really, really cool, especially for its time. But this time having AT-ATs and having that cool chamber, and then later the freezing in carbonite. Yeah.
Dude, that the asteroid chase, that is one of my all-time favorite like music pieces and scenes in the movie. Like, I just love it. I love it,
but I hate it too, because I hate the thought of being like inside the belly of something. That darn claustrophobia kicking in.
That scene was just so awesome and so well done. Like, and it's funny, like, it almost feels cheesy thinking about it now, but man, it's just crazy how awesome, like how well, like they did that scene that it seems so weird. Like they ended up in a giant, like, asteroid space slug. But you know what I mean? Like, it seems so cheesy, but like, how did they pull that off? And it doesn't seem that cheesy. It just kind of works.
The humor in that scene too was pretty good.
Yeah.
Like the things that were stuck on the outside of the Millennium Falcon.
I think, you know, I think Han's character, like who he is, helps make that scene not stupid. Because imagine it this way, right? Imagine this is like prequel type acting, right? Imagine when they're flying out through the teeth, you know, and it's them going, whoa! It kind of rises up, you know, as the teeth are glowing, whoa! You know, that kind of. But because Han says like you know, like, we're in a cave, it's like, this ain't a cave, or, you know, like, these kind of thing, like, he knows what it is, but it's like, I'm not going to say anything. Like, he doesn't need to explain anymore, you know?
Right.
I think the idea of not having to explain everything helps kind of somehow ground it in the Star Wars reality that it's not a big deal to Han, even though they're flying out of a space slug.
So going back, we start seeing Luke doing his Jedi training, which was amazing.
Yeah. I used to hate that scene when I was a kid, though, because it was kind of slow, just lots of dialogue. But I like love that,
right?
all the Dagobah scenes.
And then with the cave, the whole cave was probably one of my favorite moments in the entire movie, where he goes in this. You know, I don't really know exactly what's going on there. I don't know if Yoda has made a place for him to be trained, or if this is actually a place that has some kind of connection to the Force, because of all the life in it and stuff, or whatever.
Yeah. This is gonna be interesting, you know, for the next couple of movies. Like, are they gonna touch upon that? Like, what happened to Luke? Was it Yoda, you know, giving him that Force vision? Was it, you know, is it the planet? But because, I mean, the Clone Wars, if you've watched the Clone Wars show, there's an episode with, you know, with Yoda that when he ends up getting, you know, led to this planet of Dagobah, and he kind of, I think he encounters the voice of Qui-Gon Jinn, actually, and it's actually Liam Neeson's voice, which is awesome. Yeah. And the Clone Wars shows are considered canon, but the way they're like the Pablo Hidalgo, I think, is the guy who is kind of the master of Star Wars history and lore. So if there's a problem with scripts, he double checks to make sure, hey, this conflicts with this movie or this conflicts with this. But the way he says it is that all those shows are considered canon, even all the books, they're all considered canon unless it kind of I forget how to explain it. It's kind of hard to explain, but it was like if the movies decided to do something a little bit different, the stories are like, it could be misstrewn a little bit. Like, so if the books talk about one thing in one way, that they might actually have the information slightly wrong according to that story. So it was something kind of like, because so it's like, because for me, like, I consider a lot of those things that they say as canon, but not, I honestly only think of the movies officially as canon. Even the Clone Wars show, like, I love all those, and the Rebels, but I still don't really officially call it canon, because you can't officially do everything and connect them all, because not everybody watches them all. I think most of the people consider the movies as that Star Wars. So unless every single person who is a super Star Wars fan is watching every bit of Star Wars and reading all the books, I think it's very hard to consider everything 100% canon, because people are not going to remember every bit of reference for everything. I think it's just impossible. So like, for me, I think unless I see it on screen, it's not really 100% canon.
Right.
But as far as hints and cameos, yeah. But
yeah, in the cave we see Luke face Vader in like this weird slow motion sequence.
Oh, I forgot. There is slow mo. I kind of forgot that.
Yoda tells him not to. You won't need his lightsaber.
Yeah.
And then Luke takes it anyway, which I think is kind of symbolic of Luke's ability to rush headfirst into something instead of being patient.
Yeah,
the cool thing in there when he's fighting
Cloud City too.
What's that?
He does that same thing with Cloud City, like he leaves before, Yoda thinks he should.
Yeah. The cool thing about that scene, I mean, other than him facing Vader, is when he cuts his head off. You like how I said that all nonchalantly. Cuts his head off. When the mask basically explodes off of it, you see Luke's face inside of it, which doesn't make a lot of sense. When if you're just watching it for the first time without seeing the bigger picture that you're going to get later in the film.
Yeah.
You just assume he could turn to the dark side of the Force. That could be the path that he could be on if he doesn't, stop being foolhardy or whatever. But, we find out later that because he is Anakin's son and Anakin is Darth Vader, that could potentially be his path for more than one reason.
Yeah. Man, don't you wish you could be in the theater with everyone back in the day? Like, what were they thinking? Like, what
Let's build our time machine, see what people say.
I know, like, do they think like, dude, Luke is going to turn into Darth Vader? Is Luke a clone of Darth Vader? You know what I mean? Like, I wonder what people actually thought back then. Like, what the crap is that meaning?
It would be funny to be able to go back and like see what people's theories are, and then like the truth. Although I would probably go back and tell myself, don't watch The Matrix 2. Because, the one was great. You're not going to like where it goes.
James, I just see your one chance to use time travel. you appear and I'm like, James, it's like, what the heck? It's like, I'm from the future. I have to warn you of something. What? Can I make lots of money? It's like, don't watch The Matrix 2. If you told yourself not to watch The Matrix 2, you'd probably watch Matrix 2 even more. So it probably wouldn't be helpful. You'd be like, I ain't listening to myself. No one tells me this. I'm watching it right now. No. Okay, so after the cave, which I'm very curious to know if that's going to have anything to do with The Force Awakens, but maybe we'll touch on that when we talk about The Force Awakens.
Cloud City.
Yeah, Cloud City. So Han, they escape the Empire, and they kind of I love the scene how they like attach to the side of the Star Destroyer, and then they kind of drift away with the trash. And then you have Boba Fett and some, the bounty hunters that Darth Vader is hiring. And another reason why I loved Empire Strikes Back is not just because I love Boba Fett, because I'm just a huge fan, but I like the idea that Darth Vader was this character that would work with other people too. You don't F around with Darth Vader, but I just like the idea that it wasn't Darth Vader always jumping into his ship, flying over and fighting, flying over here and doing this. You know what I mean? Like, he did have other people do stuff too. Like, I think that made him a better character than always fighting. And that was one of the things that Dave Filoni says, who is one of the he's like the director's heads up Rebels and the Clone Wars. In Rebels, you have Darth Vader, right? And they said one of the big problems of doing Rebels was, here you have Darth Vader around, but you physically, you can't have Darth Vader showing up every single time because he is the badass of all badasses, right? Mm-hmm. How are these rebels escaping Darth Vader constantly all the time? You know what I mean? If that was how the show was going,
they kind of did that with Grievous.
Well, they did that with Grievous, but he's not as badass as Darth Vader. You know what I mean? But if you do that with Darth Vader, you kind of ruin the fact that he is scary and a menacing threat. Mm-hmm. And so, that makes a lot of sense. And I think even with the movies, having him constantly show up every second doing this or that kind of takes away from the surprise when he does show up and he means business. It's like, oh gosh.
Although I do want to see some good screen time with him for Rogue One. Just saying.
Yeah. Why? Yes, I do. Well, I mean, what's interesting in that movie is even in New Hope, you have Darth Vader, like the leader of all this, hunting them down, going on the ship at the start of the movie. Like he's walking into the fight right there. I think that's kind of cool. So yeah, maybe we'll see it. But
well, you think about like in war now, we don't send our president out to the field to clear out a cave or something.
Yeah. Obama's just like got an AR-15 like going through caves.
Hey, I'm looking for those droids. I found those droids.
That's a pretty good voice.
But no, he just goes right in. Like he's that confident and he's that powerful that even though he's like a very valuable asset,
yeah,
like he's not afraid to just go right in. Like,
literally
what's going to stop him?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's so cool. But yeah, I love the bounty hunters. I love Boba Fett because one of the lines that I think he talked with, and this is the reason why I love Boba Fett because I think he's mysterious, is that Darth Vader says no disintegrations. Like it's like, wait a second. So did he hire him before and he disintegrated someone? And so it's like, but he's still. I just like the fact that they have this kind of, they have a history, and that was cool. So it was kind of like, dude, they know each other. And it's like Boba Fett doesn't really back down to Darth Vader too, and so that's why I think his character was really cool. And the fact that Boba Fett tracks Han Solo and the Falcon down. They follow them to Cloud City, and he actually goes ahead of them. And the Empire shows up and basically forces Lando to make a deal to capture Han Solo.
That was a really cool scene when they walk in that room.
Oh,
and Darth Vader's sitting at the table. To me, the dark nature of it, that was just that's what I mean by dark. It's just not. It's full of deception. It's full of just scenarios you just don't want to be in.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Like
yeah.
Different than A New Hope, whereas you got a linear story. This is just crazy thing after crazy thing happening.
When the door, when they walk in and Boba Fett shows up. No. Darth Vader's already standing there, and he's like, and then Boba Fett shows up, and then Han Solo does a couple, shoots some laser like blaster bolts at Darth Vader, and he stops it with his hand. Force pulls the blaster, the door shut, and it's like, I forget what he says. Is like, let's have a chat or something. I forget what he says. He may not even say anything in it. I can't even remember right now. But that was so cool, dude.
Like, please sit down, eat.
The little Jabba, like a guy on the tail. Like, why are you even here? Yeah, such a great scene.
We'll talk about this more when we get to Return of the Jedi. But do you feel like Boba Fett's death was a little cheap?
Oh yeah, I
like just not honoring to.
And again, I think I mean, like even I think being the creator too. I don't know if I was making the movie, would you know that Boba Fett is such an awesome character that everyone loves? I mean, like especially without the internet too. How much are you getting feedback of huge crazy fans going, Boba Fett was awesome and mysterious, at least kill him off in a good way, Yeah, he kind of he died in a cheap manner, and that's always hurt me as a Star Wars fan, and it's like, I love that character. So for me, I know there's books and stories about him climbing back out, and so that's right there. That's my history for Star Wars. He's not dead, just because it was such a lucky kind of kill. I mean, again, it was still kind of a fun scene in the movie. I still love that scene in the movie, but knowing it's Boba Fett, such a badass, I wish it was another character. Can we go in and CGI it's another person?
So anyway, Luke feels actually we missed something. Getting the ship out of the swamp.
Oh yeah.
And because that was kind of a big thing. Just because we see how powerful the Force could be with Luke trying to raise it, and obviously Yoda's surprised that it's happening, it's working.
It's happening.
It's working. Working it is.
Dude, couple that scene with the music, and especially Luke's like his kind of distrust of the Force. Like, there's no way that can happen, you know. Like, he doesn't believe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the same with, you know, Yoda always saying like there is no try. Like you just do it. You know what I mean? Like you have to want it. And just seeing that scene with, you know, when the X-wing being pulled out, and it's just like, and then like even the dark things that Yoda would say, how he says this, you know, that is why you fail. You know,
right?
Like, what did Luke say? Right, like after it got pulled out, he's like, "How did you do that?" Or, you know, like, you know, he says some kind of line of like he couldn't believe it, and he's like, "That is why you fail." It was just, yeah, it was so good. And then, you know, he chooses to leave to help his friends because of that cave experience. I think he senses that his friends are in danger. Like, are they going to die? And Yoda is very, very coy with not telling him. And he does warn him about, like, you know, the future is unclear. You know, it's something you can't really
he
dwell
tells
on
him he's not ready to face Vader.
Mm-hmm. And I the one thing I do like about the prequels with Yoda is it does show that Yoda can be wrong. You know, like I remember like the original trilogy makes out Yoda to be all perfect in a way, like he all knowing. Like, I mean,
was he wrong?
I don't know. I mean, like they were like there was a cool line I was listening to the Rebel Force Radio. They were saying they're like an interesting line now that has more meaning because of the prequels is when Yoda says, or like Luke says, you know, you fought in the Clone Wars, or like, you know, like you knew my father, or whatever. You know, he's talking about Darth Vader, or, you know, his father before he knew his Darth Vader, and Yoda says some line of like, you know, wars not make one great kind of thing. And someone said that line is kind of cool now because the prequels, Yoda realizes with the whole battles in the Clone Wars, you know, it was a like, you know, it did not go down right. Like it wasn't very victorious of what they did, you know, because things got really bad and out of control. And right. For me, like, you know, if you haven't seen the prequels, and that's like, it sounds very heroic, him saying like war's not, but it almost sounds now when he says it like, you know, it's not everything, you know, it's not cracked up how, you know, you think it's going to be, like just being a Jedi and blah, 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 and saving the day. Like there's way more complicated issues than, you know, than what you think it is. And
see, I don't think Yoda was necessarily wrong in that. I mean, look at the scenario. Vader beat the crap out of him in the fight.
Yeah.
Luke lost his hand.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, I mean, you know, as a Force user, that's detrimental. I mean, that's one of your Force hands.
But Yoda wants Luke to go kill him, though. That's the thing. And like because like I'm on this side of I never really agreed with Yoda, like in the prequels, how quickly they're gonna like, oh, you have anger, Anakin, great. Like, do you have any other advice? You know, like that was it. Mm-hmm. Like there was not a lot of explaining and a lot of, I guess, grace to Anakin to try to fix the problems or bring anything out. That I think that the Jedi back then were very kind of set in their ways. This is how things should be done. And I think once everything got toppled from Anakin, they realized it can't just be done this simple way. You know, it's not just super black and white. And so I think, you know, I mean, I think Yoda was being very cautious, and, you know, like you're not ready to like face him because you could be seduced maybe. But like even in Return of the Jedi, like he's wanting Luke to go, like, you have to destroy Vader. You know what I mean? But Luke is totally different than all of them. And I think Luke is more right than they are. I think he's more headstrong of like, I want to go in there before he knows enough about the Force and stuff to like try to, you know, fight him. But I think Yoda is a little bit wrong in a way, and Luke is a little bit more right because he wants to go save his friends. He wants to go help. And I think,
well, see, this is where I completely disagree.
What?
Luke literally did nothing to save his friends.
Well, he tried.
He tried and he failed. Like, he didn't save his friends. Han still ended up in carbonite. He lost his hand. He wasn't emotionally ready to find out that Darth Vader was his father. I think not Vader, wow. I think Yoda looked at Luke just like he looked at Anakin, and that he was headstrong, and that, you know, that impatience, that personal, I'm going to do it my way attitude is what ultimately led Anakin to the dark side. And he saw that potential path also in Luke, which is why he didn't want him to run headstrong like his father would have done. And in the end, him going to Cloud City did nothing.
True, but that means, but still I don't. That still doesn't make his decision wrong, though. So I mean, like, let's say you want to help out.
If you cut your hand off, it is wrong.
But I'm saying,
what did he gain from that?
That doesn't matter, though. I mean, that doesn't matter. He still wanted to do the right thing, though. But like, why is it wrong to want to go help your friends, though? Even if you don't, I mean, like, you don't know the outcome. So let's say if someone knows the outcome, it's not going to work out, but you don't, like, it's still wrong. I don't think that's right.
But Yoda had the idea. Yoda did.
He said he doesn't know the future, though. Like, it's unclear. And so I understand the caution of, like, Luke, this might not be an actual future, which it ended up not. Like, they didn't die, right? So obviously Yoda was correct.
No, they actually made some pretty definitive statements.
No, he talks. No, he says something very specific about the
Obi-Wan. I mean, I think Obi-Wan was the one that said, "There's nothing you can do for your friends."
Yeah, but I don't think they're completely all correct. I mean, maybe
what did he do for his friends?
It doesn't matter what he ended up doing. I'm just saying.
But that would make them correct, though, because there was literally nothing he could do for his friends. He went there. There was nothing he could do. It all happened according to whether he was there or not. It just ended up costing him his hand, and it ended up costing him to be emotionally conflicted, potentially, when he wasn't ready to be emotionally conflicted. I mean, in the end,
yeah,
it was that naive nature that helped lead Vader back from the dark side. But I did completely disagree with you that they were wrong. I think they were actually right.
Well, I think he had good intentions on the fact of, like, you have to be patient, do all this stuff. Like, I'm still more on Luke's side, because, like, something that always frustrated me in the prequels is, you know, Anakin wanted to save his mom. Why couldn't he just go and do, like, why are they so against him doing that? They help all these other planets and other people. Like, why would it be such a huge deal to go back and go, you know what? I want to go take care of my mom, make sure she's okay. She's a freaking slave. And so because of the fact that, like, I understand the whole, like, you know, he was like, you know, he's very fearful of stuff, and he holds so dearly to things, and I understand that like he needs to be able to let things go, like hold things loosely, you know, or it's gonna have a hard time being a Jedi, because he's gonna want more and more power, and that's eventually turned him bad. But I always wonder, some of those things is, if he had more support from some of these people, I wonder if that would have actually changed things. That's where I think, like, they're right in some ways, but I think they're also wrong in the way that they've done things the same way for a long period of time. And that's why I think, you know, with Force Awakens and how Luke is, I think Luke is going to be so different than, like, the Jedi Council and how they did things, and that he tried to be a little bit more cautious. But maybe maybe this, you know, episode 8, it's going to run back into some of the problems we're talking about right now, where it's like, you can't really control too many things. You know, like, I don't know, the Force kind of works how it does, and, you know, anything you do to your own will with it, or, you know, try to force it one way or another, it's gonna kind of even out or something. I don't know. But, like, because I mean, like, I'm not saying, like, I always resonate, like, why are you holding me? Like, I want to go help my friends. I want to at least try. You know what I mean? If you say the future's unclear, you don't know whether I am gonna help or I'm not, or if I am causing it. Like, you know what I mean? But I feel like Luke as a character would, like, I don't think he could live not willing to be able to try. So, I mean, whether or not, you know, Yoda and Obi-Wan were fully correct about it, because, you know, they're kind of the older wise ones, but I don't know, like, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, like, what ends up happening if Luke's going to, you know, maybe call back to some of those things he should have learned, you know, but maybe he didn't. Because, I mean, like, who trained Yoda? You know what I mean? Like, somebody trained somebody who trained somebody who trained somebody, you know? So, it'd be interesting to see, you know, how smart exactly Yoda is and how right he was. Maybe we'll find out.
See, that's the thing I liked about like the prequels, is you get to see Obi-Wan potentially could have been one of the more powerful Jedis, because he was, of all the Jedi, he was the most, like, focused.
Yeah.
Like, you never see him let his emotions get away from him. He's patient, like, especially with the, as corny as it is, the higher ground.
Yeah.
he was patient in that fight, and he wasn't fighting, even though it was an emotional thing for him. He wasn't fighting from emotion.
Yeah, he wasn't aggressive either. He was very just defensive and wanted to stop him.
And so I don't know. I think if we see more Obi-Wan, that wouldn't be such a bad thing in Force Awakens. Yeah. We kind of talked about some of the stuff already, but we do have the freezing in carbonite, which I think is probably one of the coolest scenes of all of Star Wars. I actually had the toy when I was a kid, like the metal Han Solo plate that went with the Jabba's palace, which is kind of cool.
I had probably the 1996 version of Han Solo in carbonite, or the special edition. I guess 97. Yeah, I love those. It's looking at when Han gets frozen in carbonite, carbonation. I always mess those words up. I'm gonna put myself into carbonation and then wake up to see episode 8. I mean, carbonite. In the deleted scenes, it talks about Erwin Kershner talking about the famous line of Leia saying I love you, and he says I know, and it's funny even them explaining why is that line so good? I don't even. It's one of those lines that almost doesn't really make sense, but also makes sense at the same time. It just felt good. The line works because the line works. It was because it's still snarky a little bit of Han Solo. It's yeah, I know. It's I've known a long time ago, but it's in his way. He's saying I love you too. But I don't know. I just that scene was so good. And even you can see his eyes kind of a little bit slightly watering a little bit right towards the end before he gets frozen in carbonite, wondering is this going to be the last time? Is he going to die? And I was just the scene's so good. And then with the whole chase when Boba Fett and all the other team are kind of pushing Han Solo and the floating carbonite kind of brick thing up into his spaceship.
Yeah, that was cool.
Just the music was so just dire, And then Luke being snared into the trap. There's a really cool scene. I never noticed it until the last time I watched it. When they're pushing Han Solo through and you see Luke come around the corner and he sees them, right? Mm-hmm. This is after Leia's Luke, it's a trap, and he's just thinking. And R2-D2 comes around the corner and makes a couple beeps, and he kind of shushes him. And when he turns around the corner, that's when Boba Fett comes around and shoots a blaster bolt. And I never caught it, but I was oh, I bet I saw this fan theory. It was Boba Fett used, he's pretty smart and he heard Luke and just was trying to get him. I was just oh, that was pretty cool, because I was wondering how did he just quick do a little attack? I was oh, we heard R2. I was that's cool. My nerdiness for Boba Fett.
So then we have, actually, really quickly, they did end up escaping because Lando got them out. That's all we need to say about that. Then he got choked. That was fun. So yeah, the duel. I mean, the whole reason for setting up the carbonite was not for Han Solo. It just, that ended up being kind of a bonus for Boba Fett to be able to take him to Jabba. But the whole purpose for doing the carbonite was to capture Luke so they could take him and, hopefully train him to become a dark side of the Force user.
Yeah. That lightsaber battle is still so cool.
Well, just the contrast of the lightsabers on that dark background, and just everything about that scene was just really well done. Which is why I say that the dark nature of this movie, it doesn't necessarily mean it was brooding the whole time, but just the maturity of the lighting that they chose, the silhouettes and everything. It just that became very iconic. That even to the point where they're showing it in the prequels and they're doing it in The Force Awakens to some degree. Just that very contrasty blue versus red fight scene.
One of my favorite lines that Darth Vader says is when Luke is kind of walking up the steps towards him after they've been fighting a few minutes, and Luke has his lightsaber, turned off. And I just love that Darth Vader is it is unwise to lower your defenses. It's and then just how his lightsaber just ignites super fast to defend. Mm-hmm. And it's just man, they did those battles right there did so well. Like, yeah, they're not as fast as nowadays and everything because they had such crappy sticks they were using to fight with and the way they had to do it. But still, because of the drama and the lines that were said, it really felt like they were really wailing on each other. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it definitely looked like Darth Vader was way more on the defensive. He's not trying to kill Luke right now. But I just like it, and it's just all the cool tricks.
I wouldn't say defensive. He did some pretty cool stuff.
He did, but like it was not. He looked like he could have killed Luke pretty much any time if he wanted to, you know. But I just like, even with Luke doing all the flips and the kind of force tricks and stuff, it was very much, hey, I just figured out the force. I'm gonna start using some, but you know, he's just kind of like, you know, I feel like just like the young gun, like trying out the cool tricks. And then when Return of the Jedi comes around, he's way more calm and collective.
My favorite thing in their fight is when Darth Vader starts using the Force to move all that stuff in that room. I thought that was just really cool.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, some of that stuff probably weighed hundreds of pounds, and Luke kind of like it bounces off his shoulder. Like, okay,
the Force, man,
fake,
the Force.
You know, this taking us outside to that little, like, who builds these places? Who builds that little like platform? Like, whose job is it to go out there and like service that thing? That's gotta suck.
So leading up to the kind of famous line, you know, they're on that, like, above that kind of pit of whatever it is. Do you know the original line or the fake line that was put in the script? So in case anyone found out, this is what it was going to be. What do you know? I'm just curious if you got it right.
Obi-Wan killed your father.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So apparently, I guess Mark Hamill, George Lucas, and I think Irwin Kershner are the only people that knew about it. And so he, you know, he said everyone else knows that in the, like, they seen that in the script, but you know, it's going to be I am your father and stuff. And what's, you know, interesting is originally in A New Hope, Darth Vader was not Luke's father. Like in original, like there's like original articles and stuff like that. Darth Vader was actually never his father.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. He's like, yeah, it was retcon, but man, that was a really awesome idea. You know, like that was phenomenal.
The only bad thing about retconning is you go back and you're like, well, that line doesn't really fit. Like, Obi-Wan saying, your father wanted you to have this lightsaber when you were old enough.
I know. I don't think. I mean, that doesn't sound bad. I mean, now it seems like a lying son of a bitch.
I mean, it's just flat out lie.
Yeah. But man, that scene was so awesome. And then, you know, Luke falls.
The only downside is the fall. Like, now
you make it sound horrible. I like the fall. I thought it was cool. And he gets sucked into the little tube.
I mean, it was cool, but it didn't necessarily look that cool. I mean, that falling is always the hard thing to do in movies.
Yeah.
Without it just looking really bad if you don't have the special effects to do it well.
Yeah.
But I hated the thought of being stuck on that thing underneath the Cloud City. Like, that's just, that would be a nightmare scenario. I'm already afraid of heights, but being stuck there, thinking...
underneath Cloud City when he's, like, hanging on that tiny little radio. I remember thinking, like, if you're just sitting there going, you know, my hands are eventually going to give out and I'm just going to fall.
Yeah. I would probably just jump.
You would just, like...
I'm not even going to try to hang on.
I'm not even going to try.
I could sit up here for an hour and be scared, or I could just jump and be done with it.
So what happened that was brand new to this film that at the very end? How did Luke get saved?
He got saved by calling out to his sister.
Yeah.
Which he didn't know was his sister and didn't know that she would necessarily be able to hear him, but she did. And we found out in the next movie why she was able to actually hear.
Yeah, that was... again, I wish we could go back in time and find out, like, what do people think? What? That's crazy, you know? Like, she has the Force too, or what? You know, she can be a Jedi.
I do want to make a note before we wrap it up.
Sure.
This is the last time we see the blue lightsaber with Luke. This is where when he loses his hand, clearly that's the hand with the lightsaber.
Yeah.
And I don't think he tried to catch it on the way down.
Yeah. And I think you actually, don't you see the lightsaber or his hand fall out into the sky?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't remember that scene.
I thought you see something.
No, I don't remember that scene.
I'll have to look at it again, but I thought you actually see like something falling, like when he like lands on it and you see something just tumble away. It might actually be his hand, I don't know. But that's the last time we see his original lightsaber, which is also Anakin's, of course. Until the Force Awakens.
Until the Force Awakens, when we see that lightsaber. So I guess we're going to find out how exactly that was found. If it was done by, a collector or a bounty hunter or something that just happened to sell it to Maz or something, or, if there's something more to it.
All those rumors for Force Awakens intro was about like a floating lightsaber originally. And I remember when the movie started and you saw like the tip of something kind of going over the shadow, the silhouette of the planet. For just a millisecond, I was thinking, no way, it's actually the lightsaber.
Just the tip,
Yeah, the ending of that scene of that movie, and as they're escaping, and Luke doing that kind of interesting transition, showing Darth Vader talking to his son, saying join me, and Darth Vader's kind of confident knowing that they installed the the countermeasure for light speed on the Falcon and everything, but R2 fixed it, of course, so they get away. I think isn't the end? There's an end shot showing Darth Vader like he's kind of pissed, and then you see a couple of the other guys, like the different commanders. They're like looking at him like, "Oh crap, or someone's gonna get choked."
One more scene that was really cool is Luke getting his robotic hand.
Oh yeah,
thus kind of setting the foreshadowing of he could easily turn to the dark side like his father. So yeah.
I mean, I guess back then, it wasn't really much of a foreshadowing because you don't know that Darth Vader is, a robot or like part machine.
Yeah.
But I bet that had to have been really awesome after seeing Return of the Jedi, going, holy shit, like Darth Vader has a robot hand too. Because I've seen it so many times as a kid, I can't remember ever going, oh man, they both have robot hands. Like, you know what I mean? Like I never really thought about until like later on that I was like, oh, that was kind of a big deal. For me, I just thought Luke seeing him like, oh wow, I'm hurting almost, now I'm killing a defenseless person, which is also now my father. I can't do this. But I never really got the dramaticness of, oh wow, he's a machine just like me. Like we are so close, similar.
Well, I don't know.
I have to make
he figures it out after he cuts off Vader's hand. He's like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
I got one of those too.
Well, no, I think he's the fact that he feels so connected to the fact that I could have been like my father as well. You know, like I'm going down that path, but now is when I have to make the decision to not do that. Because I'm just going to become like Darth Vader if I kill him. Like it's just going to probably bring him down that path. But is another thing. I'm curious if Episode 8 will be very much like Empire Strikes Back. Like I mean,
that's what everybody's saying. Saying it's going to take that kind of darker.
I hope it has some dark, because they obviously got to get to some level by the third movie. There's got to be something crazy being set up. But I'm curious to know if the one thing that we'll copy is at the end of Episode 8, will it really feel like it's kind of a cliffhanger?
Everything's left in flux. Just it doesn't have a happy, wrap everything up ending. That's what I hope. That's what I loved about Empire Strike Back. You didn't get that feeling of, that was a good movie. You got you were left with that feeling, oh my gosh, what's going to happen after this? Like everything is
captured
up in the air.
Yep. I wonder if it's going to leave in dark, or if it's going to be almost more of a, like, let's say a dramatic, but not as sad, but more of like, oh shit, like something like, like Rey is about to do something incredible. You know what I mean? Like, but it kind of ends right before that awesomeness is about to happen.
I think we can see the death of Luke at some point.
I hope not. I really hope we don't see Luke die until the third one, or like the Episode 9. I hope he has some more time, because I hope the battle at the end is not just a one-on-one type fight like usual. I hope it's not just, hey, I gotta save Kylo Ren from being, a Sith. It would be awesome if it's Rey is fighting, but Luke has to do a big battle as well. Like, it's, it'd be kind of cool to see something kind of changed up where it's not just a 1v1 kind of fight at the very end. I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting if they did something different. Who knows? But maybe they'll do that in this movie and then have the one versus one later on.
Well, I will say that with the prequel trilogy,
yeah,
the second one was not my favorite.
Yeah.
This middle one's my favorite, so hopefully with this next one, we'll get a favorite again. There's no pattern yet. Hopefully we'll start a new pattern.
Are we, in episode 8, are we going to see the battle between the Knights of Ren? Are we going to see, is there going to be a scene with Rey and Luke fighting back to back, just kicking ass against the Knights of Ren or something? Like, dude, like that right there, that will be like my Star Wars dream, seeing something just so incredible.
We'll see.
I don't know. But man, Empire Strikes Back, phenomenal movie, setting so much up for Return of the Jedi. And also, like, just that ending with Lando and Chewbacca, leaving in the Falcon. You don't know where they're going, but they're kind of setting up the plan. Remember, like, I think, and Luke says, like, I'll meet you, at our rendezvous. Like, there was such a setup of a plan of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
What they're going to do, how they're going to get Han back or whatever. It was like, oh, I can't wait. But you're going to have to wait, listener, potentially 6 months.
If you haven't seen Return of the Jedi by now, why are you listening to this podcast?
No, this has been fun. Well, hope you guys have enjoyed. And anything else, James? You want to talk about?
No.
Yeah, just one more movie until we can finally get to Force Awakens. And I think it's like, I think it's gonna be exciting to talk about a Force Awakens now. I didn't want to talk about it right away. I mean, it could have been a little bit earlier than this, but I'm ready now, having seen it now, I think 6 times. I did kind of wanted to know how the movie would hold up for me, because obviously I think anytime you see a Star Wars movie, I mean, like, there's so many people that don't like the Phantom Menace now, but they love the crap out of it when they first saw it, because I think there's just there's something fun about seeing it on a big screen, loud sound with other fans, everyone, you know what I mean? Like, the first time a movie could just be so much fun that you're seeing Star Wars again. Then once you watch it a couple times and you realize, oh, the editing's not good or this acting's not good, But I was curious to know if The Force Awakens is going to hold up. So I think it did. I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, we'll talk about Return of the Jedi next time.
Later, guys. May the Force be with you.
I'm just picturing Luke saying that to Han. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
Han's like, yeah. I'll totally be back to help you guys. I gotta go pay Jabba. All right, bye.
Hey, Han.
Hanobody. Wait, this sounds like the guy from The Room. Is it? Yeah, it's called.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Han. Hi, Luke.
Has anybody seen my lightsaber? I lost it with my hand.
Oh. All right, until next time, guys. See ya.
See ya.